Hey media students, in the last video I showed you how to set up your project in Character Animator. In this video I'll show you how to start working with your puppet and how to animate and rig the eyes for your puppet. So we're in the rig workspace, and rig is the workspace where we can tell the puppet's layers to behave a certain way. So what we want to do is rig our puppet. Here are all the files that we've brought in. I have my puppet, my background, and my audio. So what I want to do is work on my puppet. So I'm actually going to double click on the puppet right here to bring up the puppet in the middle of the screen. So it should show up right here. Let's try again. Double click. Here's my puppet. Now what we want to do here is we want to start by working on his eye blinks. So over here are all the puppet's layers. We're going to find his blink layers. So they're in the eye. So I'm going to expand the eye layers, and I'm looking for his blink layer. I'm going to click on it just once. What I'm checking is that his blink is circled, or I shouldn't say circled, highlighted. And we can't see it because it's turned off right now, as it should be. If I turned it on, you can see what happens. But we're also checking to make sure that his layer is tagged correctly and that this blink icon is highlighted in blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this layer and drag it over here to triggers for a second. This part was all correct. We want this to be tagged and we want his eye to be highlighted. And we're going to drag his layer over here to triggers. We're going to check his right eye by clicking and highlighting on his right eye blink. And it's highlighted and it's tagged correctly. Again, we can't see it because it's turned off. Like if we turned it on, you could see that he's blinking. And we're going to drag this over to triggers. So basically, a lot of this work is done for us because we did a good job organizing our puppet. Over here, I dragged his blink layers to triggers because I want to trigger them with the keyboard. So next to left blink, there's this black box. I can double click here and tell the computer what key on the keyboard I want to press. So I'm going to press B for his left blink, and I'm going to press B for his right blink. And basically, this allows me to press B on the keyboard and make him blink. Now, if we jump over to the record workspace, we can test this out. In the record workspace, here's our files. Our histories are what we've done like in the past. This is like in Photoshop. Timeline, this is where when we record stuff, it'll show on the timeline what actions our character is going to take. But basically up here, this is our scene. This is where we want to see the character. So we need to create a scene by dragging our puppet out here. You only need to do this once. After we drag this out here, he'll always be in the scene. And I can really just test my triggers right now by pressing B on the keyboard. And you can see that my puppet blinks. If something's not working correctly, we would move back to the rig workspace. Again, we would check our layers and make sure that we have it tagged correctly and that when we click the eyeball on and off, that the blink shows up. A lot of the common problems that we have here, if it's not working, is that the blink is in the wrong order. Like blink is not on top of his pupil or his eye. That's something that you could go back into Illustrator and you could fix here. And if you make a change in Illustrator, like let's just make a change that everyone can see. Let's change his shirt to red. If you make a change in Illustrator and save it, file save, it will auto update in Character Animator. So if you ever have a mistake that you need to change in Illustrator, you can go back to Illustrator, go to Character Animator, and it'll make the change in here. So see, his shirt is changed to red. Now, my character's eyes work, the blinks work like this. I'm going to press B so he blinks. The other thing I want to add here is I want to be able to control his pupils. I want to be able to make him look left and right. We can do that with the keyboard if we go over to here to Properties and we look for eye gaze and we open that up. And anything with a red dot next to it means that the computer is looking for that while we're recording. So for his eye gaze, let's arm keyboard input, or let's turn it on essentially. So we click on that, and what will happen is if I use the arrow keys, I can move his pupils around and I can press B on the keyboard for blink. Again, if something's not working, you need to go back to rig and check the layers to make sure that the right stuff is highlighted. His pupils stay inside of the layer called eye. So if his pupils are just shooting across the screen, make sure that you have artwork in the right eye layer. But that's how we can rig and test your puppet's eyes so they can blink and so that they can look left and right, up and down.